Tommy Egan has never backed down from a fight, but this time, the danger isn't coming from the streets, the gangs, or the bullets. It's coming from something he can't shoot, can't outrun, and can't silence. Season 3 is about to push Tommy into a corner he's never been in before. And the scary part is he might not make it out the same man. From the start, Tommy has always lived by one rule: strike first, think later. It's the mindset that built his legend in New York and gave him a terrifying reputation in Chicago. But now, the very thing that made him powerful is turning into his biggest weakness. Chicago is not a city that forgives mistakes, and as Tommy rises, every wrong step becomes a spotlight for his enemies. He's building an empire in a place that is already overflowing with people who want control. And every block he takes brings more eyes on him. Season 3 is setting the stage for a dangerous shift. Tommy isn't just fighting street-level threats anymore. He's dealing with people who play a slower, smarter game, leaders who plan months ahead, not minutes. And while Tommy is great at reacting in the moment, he struggles with the long game. This is where the trouble starts. Tommy's world is expanding, but so is the pressure. Every deal he makes adds another crack to the foundation he's trying to build. His crew is growing, but with more bodies come more attitudes, more secrets, and more chances for someone to flip when things get hot. Even the people closest to him are starting to question the cost of standing beside him. Tommy has always believed that loyalty is simpler, either with him or against him. But Chicago doesn't run on loyalty. It runs on survival. And the longer Tommy stays, the more he realizes that no one, not even his own people, is safe from betrayal. What makes this upcoming season even more dangerous is that Tommy is entering battles he doesn't fully understand. He's crossing paths with groups who play on a different level, entirely political forces, organized networks, and powerful figures who see Tommy not as a threat, but as a problem that needs solving. They don't need to pull a trigger to take him down. All they need to do is cut off his supply, break his connections, or turn one key person against him. Tommy has never been afraid of dying, but losing power, losing control, that's a kind of defeat he's never had to face before. As we move deeper into Season 3, this becomes clear. Tommy isn't just fighting for territory anymore. He's fighting for stability, identity, and the future he's trying to build. But Chicago is a city where the future can disappear overnight. And every move Tommy makes now is being watched by people who are waiting for the perfect moment to strike. People who understand that sometimes, the strongest man is the easiest one to break, as long as you know where to hit. Tommy may be ready for war, but this time, the real battle is happening in silence, behind closed doors. Long before a single shot is fired, Tommy's biggest threat in Season 3 isn't a new gang marching into Chicago or a rival boss calling for his head. The danger comes from something much quieter, much harder to see. It comes from the slow shift inside his own organization, something he has ignored for too long. Tommy built his empire with fire, force, and fear, but now he needs something he's never cared about before: structure. And that's exactly where things start to fall apart. The more his business grows, the more cracks begin to show. His people are loyal, yes, but they're also tired, afraid, or secretly hungry for their own kind of power. That's the problem with being the top dog. Everyone under you eventually wants a bigger bite. As Tommy expands into new corners of the city, he isn't just taking territory, he's taking problems that come with those territories. Every neighborhood comes with its own politics, its own unspoken rules, and its own hidden histories. But Tommy doesn't know them, he doesn't care about them. And that's exactly why he's walking into traps he can't see. In Chicago, history matters, old grudges matter. Even small decisions can light fires under people Tommy doesn't even know exist yet. He's used to being the one who scares others, but now, he's dealing with enemies who don't fear him, enemies who have survived bigger storms than anything Tommy has ever brought. And those enemies don't need guns to hurt him, they need patience. They watch him, study him, and understand his patterns better than some of his closest allies. They know Tommy reacts fast, hits hard, and refuses to back down. They plan around it. They set the stage for him to think he's winning, only to pull the floor out from under him later. These are the kinds of opponents Tommy has never faced before. Because these battles aren't won on the streets, they're won in quiet meetings, secret deals, and silent exchanges of power. While Tommy is fighting one fire, they're starting 10 more behind him. But the people outside his circle aren't the only ones causing problems. Inside his organization, pressure is building. Some of his men feel overlooked. Some feel underpaid. Others feel like Tommy's choices are putting them in unnecessary danger. And when fear mixes with frustration, loyalty starts to fade. Tommy has always believed he could control his people through respect or fear, but Season 3 is making one thing clear. The more he grows, the harder it becomes to keep a group together. And Tommy, with all his strength, doesn't see the cracks forming right in front of him? What makes this even more dangerous is that Tommy's heart is still tied to the idea of family, the ones he's lost and the ones he's trying to keep. But family is a weakness in a world like Chicago. When you care about people, you give your enemies targets. When you try to protect everyone, you leave yourself exposed. Tommy has always been the guy who takes the bullets so the people he loves don't have to. But in Season 3, that instinct might cost him more than he can afford. His enemies don't need to kill him to win, they just need to hurt the right person. And Tommy will destroy his own empire trying to save them. This is the quiet battle Tommy is losing. He's used to fighting loud, bloody wars, but now he's drowning in small, silent ones. Wars made of secrets, bad decisions, and hidden intentions. Wars where the knife doesn't come from the front, but from right behind his back. And as the threats around him grow stronger and smarter, Tommy is stuck playing a game he's never taken seriously. A game where strength isn't measured by bullets, but by patience, strategy, and the ability to see danger long before it comes. In Season 3, Tommy isn't just fighting for survival, he's fighting against the invisible forces he never learned to face. And unless he changes fast, these forces will tear everything he's built right out from under him. Tommy's journey has always been fueled by rage, loyalty, and the constant need to prove he's the one man who can survive anything. But Season 3 shifts the battlefield completely, forcing him into a type of fight he has never been good at, the emotional one. And this is where the real danger begins. Tommy has always believed that shutting down his feelings makes him stronger. He thinks emotions slow you down, make you weak, make you hesitate. But the truth is, the more he tries to bury what's going on inside him, the more those emotions begin to control his decisions. And in a city as unforgiving as Chicago, the wrong decision at the wrong moment is enough to cost him everything. What Tommy doesn't realize is that being surrounded by power, violence, and chaos has changed him more than he thinks. He isn't as cold as he used to be. He isn't as detached. He has people he actually cares about now. People he wants to protect. People who remind him he still has humanity left. But when you care about people in the criminal world, you give your enemies leverage. And when Tommy is forced to choose between protecting his growing empire or protecting the people he loves, he always chooses the people. That's admirable, but it's also dangerous, because caring makes you hesitate. And hesitation in this life is an open door for betrayal. Season 3 starts pulling Tommy into emotional wars that he can't simply shoot his way out of. The ghosts of his past don't stay buried, they come back in the form of memories, regrets, and connections that shake the walls he built around himself. Every time he feels that old pain, every time he's reminded of who he lost, he becomes more reckless. His grief becomes gasoline. His anger becomes a weapon he can't control. And while he's trying to outrun his past, Chicago keeps dragging it back in front of him, forcing him to face the wounds he never healed. But the biggest emotional blow comes from within his own circle. Someone close to Tommy, someone he trusts, starts drifting away, not out of betrayal, but out of fear. They begin to realize that Tommy's way of doing things can only lead to two places, a grave or a prison. This person's distance spirals into guilt for Tommy. Guilt becomes frustration. Frustration becomes anger, and anger becomes one wrong move after another. Tommy is fighting battles inside his own head, and while he's distracted, the real enemies are moving quietly, getting closer, watching him fall apart one piece at a time. This emotional unraveling also affects the way Tommy handles his business. Decisions he used to make with clear focus now come from pain. Deals he should walk away from become personal challengers. Threats he should ignore turn into opportunities to release his rage. He isn't thinking like a leader anymore. He's thinking like a man who's been cornered by his own memories. Chicago is full of people waiting for that slip, that moment where the king lets his guard down. And Tommy, without realizing it, is handing them that moment on a silver platter. And the scariest part, Tommy doesn't even notice how close he is to breaking. He thinks he's getting stronger. He thinks he's becoming untouchable. But the cracks around him and inside him are widening with every step. The fight that will hurt him the most isn't the one happening in the streets. It's the one happening in his heart, behind the cold stare and the hard decisions. In Season 3, Tommy is his own worst enemy. And if he doesn't face the emotional war raging inside him, it won't be the streets that take him down. It'll be himself. Tommy has always believed that as long as he stays 10 steps ahead, No one can take him down. But the truth is, Season 3 is setting him up for a fall that has nothing to do with bullets or blood. It has everything to do with the long game of power. And this is where Tommy is completely out of his element. The real movers in Chicago don't fight in alleys or empty warehouses. They fight in office buildings, in hidden back rooms, in quiet conversations that decide the future of entire neighborhoods. These are people who don't need to touch a gun to ruin a man. They can destroy everything he has with a single phone call, a single deal, or a single piece of information being handed to the right enemy. Tommy has mastered street warfare, but he is entering a battlefield ruled by strategy, patience, and political influences he has never cared to understand. What makes this new war so dangerous is that Tommy doesn't even know how many enemies he has stepped on while climbing the ladder. Every victory he celebrated, every territory he took, every rival he crushed, created someone who now wants revenge. Not everyone seeks revenge with violence. Some want to take apart everything Tommy built, piece by piece. Some want to ruin his connections to suppliers. Some want to hit him financially. And some want to break his network from the inside. Tommy sees the threats that come with guns and anger, but he doesn't see the threats that come with smiles and quiet patience. And this is exactly why Season 3 becomes the turning point for his empire at the same time. The city itself is turning into an enemy. The police pressure is rising. The political climate is shifting. There are people with power, money, and influence who want the chaos in Chicago cleaned up, and they don't care who gets caught in the fire. Tommy has always used the chaos to his advantage, but now the city is working against him. The rules are changing, the streets are changing, and the alliances he relies on are becoming unstable. Even longtime players who used to depend on Tommy's muscle are starting to distance themselves, afraid of getting burned by the growing spotlight on him. That isolation leaves him exposed, and exposure is deadly in his world. On top of that, Tommy is dealing with the cost of being the center of everything. When you're at the top, you can't afford to make a single mistake. But Tommy is making several small ones, emotional ones, rushed ones. He's reacting to danger instead of preparing for it. He's trusting people based on gut feelings instead of strategy. He's trying to balance too many fires at once. What he doesn't realize is that every rushed decision is pushing him closer to the edge. Every emotional choice opens a weakness. Every act of anger gives someone else a chance to exploit him. And while Tommy believes he's fighting to keep control, he's actually fighting to stop everything from collapsing. But the most dangerous moment comes when Tommy finally realizes that the people playing against him don't want to kill him right away. They want to break him. They want him desperate, confused, angry, and alone. They want him to make that one massive mistake that will bring the whole city crashing down on him. And the terrifying part is, he's getting close to that moment. Too close. When a man like Tommy is pushed into a corner, he doesn't walk away, he lashes out. And that reaction might be exactly what his enemies are waiting for. Season 3 is setting Tommy up for a loss that goes far deeper than losing a territory or a shootout. It's a loss of power, a loss of control, a loss of the very identity he spent his entire life creating. This is a battle he isn't prepared for, one he can't handle with just force and fear. And if he doesn't learn to fight differently, smarter, calmer, more calculated, he will lose everything he's built. Not because someone is stronger than him, but because they're playing a game he never learned to play. Tommy may survive the streets, but the silent war happening above them, that's the battle he's on the verge of losing. The scariest part of Season 3 is not that Tommy will face new enemies, or that the city is changing around him, it's that the consequences of his actions are finally catching up. For years, Tommy has lived like a man who believes he can outrun fate. He thinks if he moves fast enough, hits hard enough, and stays fearless, nothing can touch him. But Season 3 is the moment where the past pulls up beside him, grabs him by the throat, and demands payment. And this payment won't be in bodies on the ground, it will be in the things Tommy values the most. This is the cost of all the decisions he's made, the lives he's taken, the alliances he's broken, and the secrets he's buried. Every victory he's won came with a price he refused to pay at the time. But now, that debt is due. The cost of this loss won't just weaken Tommy, it will reshape him. Everything he's been building in Chicago rests on a fragile balance: loyalty, fear, reputation, and control. But when the battle he's destined to lose finally hits, it won't shatter his empire from the outside. It will crumble from the inside. That's the real threat. It's not another crew shooting up his corners. It's not a rival boss trying to steal his territory. It's the collapse of trust, the erosion of unity, and the realization that no matter how strong he is, he can't fix everything with violence. For the first time, People who once believed in Tommy will question whether following him is worth the risk anymore. That doubt is poison, and once it enters the bloodstream of his organization, it spreads fast, and this loss won't just affect his business, it will hit his personal life even harder. Tommy cares more than he admits, and the people he cares about will be forced into danger because of decisions he made long before they entered the picture. Season 3 is the moment where Tommy has to face the truth that protecting people and controlling people are not the same thing. His instinct to shield those he loves often pushes them into deeper trouble. The more he tries to fix things, the worse they get. And when the fallout hits, he'll realize that some relationships are breaking not because someone betrayed him, but because he refuses to change the way he lives. This kind of emotional loss is something Tommy has never learned to handle, and his enemies know it. But the most haunting cost of this upcoming battle is what it will do to Tommy's identity. All his life, he has defined himself by two things: power and survival. He believes that as long as he wins, he matters. As long as he stays on top, he has purpose. But when this loss strikes, it forces him into a place he has never been, a place where he questions if all the violence, all the wars, all the sacrifices were worth it. He starts to wonder if he's becoming the very thing he's always hated, a man who causes destruction, not because he has to, but because he doesn't know any other way to live. That self-doubt is the kind of wound no doctor can treat, no gun can defend, and no street victory can erase. The fallout of this battle will ripple across everything Tommy touches. His enemies will smell weakness, his allies will fear alignment, the law will sharpen its focus, and the streets, those dangerous, shifting streets, will start whispering that Tommy Egan is slipping, not because he lost a shootout, but because he lost something much more dangerous: control over himself. This is the kind of loss that changes the energy of an entire city. Chicago doesn't care about who you were yesterday, it only cares about who you are when the smoke clears. And after this battle, Tommy won't be the same man standing in that smoke. Season 3 is shaping up to be the turning point in Tommy's life, not because it ends him, but because it forces him to confront every shadow he has been running from. This loss is the doorway to a new version of Tommy Wan, who is more dangerous, more unpredictable, or maybe even more broken. But one thing is certain: after this battle, nothing in Tommy's world will look the same again. Whether he rises stronger or falls deeper depends on how he handles the blow that's coming. And for the first time, the outcome isn't in his hands. This is the cost of war. This is the cost of being Tommy Egan.